This video is about story testing. Let us say A story versus B story. There are narrative elements in our stories, right? So we need to test which story is good and which is not so very good. Let me tell you, you often assume storytelling is art. It is. But in today's digital environments, storytelling is also experimentation. The strongest brands today do not guess which story will work. There is no scope of guessing anything. They test it. That is why A-B testing is not just for, let us say, button colors or headlines, but it can be used to test a narrative structure, an emotional framing, character focus, pacing of the story, even the tone of the story today. Let us explore how to test storytelling scientifically but without killing the creative element of storytelling. So what is A-B testing in storytelling? Very simply, it means you create two versions of the narrative element. So same story, but version A, version B. You expose similar audience group to each of the versions. You measure performance difference. In performance marketing, which is so very viable today, this is very, very common. But in storytelling, it becomes extremely powerful. How can you test this? Use two different opening hooks for two versions. Use two different emotional tones. Have two different protagonist perspectives. Let the ending be different in both the versions. Give different titles to each version. Give a different thumbnail to each version. And finally, give CTA, call to action, also different to each version. So what is the insight actually? We are not testing the story's soul. We are only testing the story's entry and the structure. So the creative part of the story, which is the story's soul, remains intact. Question is, why story testing matters? Because audiences do not respond to what we think is powerful. They respond to what they feel is relevant. Let me take a small example. Let's imagine a sustainability brand film. Version A opens with climate statistics.
People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you!
This is the story of how an eccentric environmental scare grew into a powerful global industry.
Whereas version B opens with a farmer losing all his crops. the same story. But for all you know, version B will generate higher watch time, higher emotional comments, more shares. Can you tell me why? Because the entry point in version B was that of a human being, the farmer. Testing has revealed time and again emotional triggers. Without testing, we might operate on our egos, what I feel is best. But with testing, we operate on evidence of the audience that we have called. Now let us understand what are the things that we can test in a narrative design or in a storytelling design. 1, we can test the hook. The hook could be a bold statement versus a personal confession. It could be a question versus a very dramatic moment. For example, in version A, climate change is accelerating. In the version B that we are talking about, the hook could be, last year my father lost the farm he built for over the last 30 years. You measure the CTR in the first 30-second retention. The winner is not the one that you prefer. It is the one that got the attention of the audience. The second point that we can test is the emotional framing. How do you frame the emotion of our storytelling? It could be fear-based urgency or hope-based empowerment. Again, let me quote an example. Let's say in version A, I say, own what others cannot. Or in version B, I say, own what tells your story. The question is, which version will drive stronger engagement and sentiment? Different audiences respond to different emotional tones. And that's what we need to capture and find which one is more effective. The third thing which we can test is character focus. Should it be a founder story? Or should it be a customer story? Let's say when we are doing investor pitch, version A says, it is all around the founder's struggle. But the version B story centers around the customer's problem. The question is, which will increase conversion or meeting the request of fund? It has been always seen, customer-centered stories outperform founder-centered ones because it is providing a solution. Okay. Fourth, what can we test? The structure of the narrative and the length of the narrative. Let us say a 90-second version of a story versus a 3-minute version. Should I have an immediate reveal or a delayed reveal of the story? Retention curves will show you narrative fatigue points. Shorter one always wins. Sometimes depth does win, 3 minutes does win, but then the story needs to be really, really strong. And the last one, how do I end the story? What is the call to action? Should I have an emotional closure or should I give a direct instruction? Let's take an example again. Version A ends with a poetic reflection, whereas version B ends with join us today. The first one may drive resonance, remember, identification with each other. The other one will drive action. Now the balance depends. The balance of A versus B depends on the objective of the narrative. What are the metrics that we need to observe during story testing? When testing a narrative elements are aligned with our objective, we need to find if the goal is to raise curiosity. In that case, measure the CTR. If the goal is to have an immersive audience, measure watch time. If goal is to have a structural clarity, then measure retention. And if the goal is to have an emotional impact, then please measure the comments, the shares, and the saves. But if your goal is sales, then measure the conversion rate. Never test anything without a clarity of intent. A beautiful story that does not convert into sales campaign does not mean it is failing. It might go and solve some other problem, but it could be the wrong problem which you did not identify. So, the intent of identifying is extremely important. What is a practical framework for doing this A/B testing? Step 1. Change only one narrative variable. Don't change 5. Any one has to be put to test. Step 2. Use the same audience segment. If you want to randomize, randomize fairly. You have added 3 men here, add 3 men on this side also. Step 3. Test at scale. Don't take small samples. Small samples might give us, false signals or false winners. So we need to have a scale, maybe 100 people, 200 people, like that. Not 5, 10. Step 4, interpret with the context. Remember, you have to set your intent. A 2% CTR increase may be statistically significant. Is it significant or is it noise? That has to be very clear. Step 5, combine data with qualitative feedback. Read the comments. Watch the reaction of the audience. Numbers will show what happened, but the feedback will show why it happened. So what and why? These two compositions you have to get it clear. Let's take a real world example. We all watch Netflix, but Netflix frequently does lots of tests. Different trailer openings, different thumbnails. We see the thumbnails on our screens, different emotional cuts. For example, 2 users, that means 2 viewers, may see 2 different preview thumbnails for the same show. That is narrative A/B testing at scale. Netflix does this beautifully. Let's do a brand test. What will you do in a brand test? We will look out for the campaign imagery, the tone of the copy, the influencer storytelling formats. For example, in startup founder tests, what can we study? We can study problem first versus solution first. Which pitch will work better? Testing today has become a part of narrative strategy. We need to be very, very clear about our narrative strategy. Many of us have this creative fear at the back when you are doing storytelling. Many creatives actually do not like to do testing. According to them, storytelling is intuition. Yes, it is intuition, but intuition improves with feedback. Testing can never, never replace creativity. It can only refine it. Today, the best storytellers are emotionally very intelligent. They are data aware. So much of data is coming in the social media. And they are also experiment driven. They are ready to experiment with their storytelling narrative design. Before I close, do remember, storytelling is no longer just a linear way. I am telling you are hearing, it need not be like that. It is iterative. You can launch a story, then you can measure. And if you feel it needs to be corrected and refined, bring it back, refine it, relaunch it. A and B testing allows you to answer this very, very powerful question. Is your story powerful? Or is it just persuasive? Remember, in modern communication, creativity begins the story, but data always strengthens the story, and emotion sustains the story over a long, long period. That is story testing. So you need to bring all these four, the first 4 points and the next 3 points together to see that your storytelling method is sustainable for a very long time and people build a resonance with you. Till we meet in the next video.